To see so many of you here today for this very exciting announcement. But before we begin, I do want to acknowledge some of the special guests here with us today. Council Member Alan Mizell, District Leader Sue-Ann Partnow, stand up, Kareem Kamara, Executive Director for the New York State Office of Faith-Based Community Development Services. And probably one of the most important guys in here, Richard Ball, Commissioner, New York State Department of Agriculture and Markets Commissioner. Fran Barrett, New York State Interagency Coordinator for Nonprofits Organization. Anna Aguirre, Director of Unity Community Centers. Joel Berg, CEO of Hunger Free America. Allison Nickerson, Executive Director of Live On New York. Lorraine Brown, CEO of One Brooklyn Health. Go Lorraine! Kurt Kadorf, CEO of Kingsbrook Jewish Medical Center. Bishop Orlando Finlay-Tay, I hope I didn't mess that up. New Hope Christian Fellowship. Reverend Terry Lee from Community Concerns Network. And I just want to also say thank you so much to our clergy council from the 5th Ninth Assembly District, who is led by Reverend Moonsam, Father Kane, and so forth. Thank you guys for coming out. Our 69 precinct clergy members, council members, sorry, can you just please stand? Lucina. Thank you guys for coming. And to all the senior centers that made it here possible today and the community center. And a big round of applause for all the tenants that came from this fabulous housing, Bayview. Thank you so much for coming out. And again, $11.99, thank you for coming. So, without further ado, this morning we will hear from our Lieutenant Governor, Kathy Hochul, and then Kareem Kamara will speak more about today's announcement. So as Anna Aguirre, and then we'll close the program. But before we go into that, for not too long, our communities, whether it's by zip code or so forth, here in Brooklyn have been overlooked far long enough, especially when it comes to healthy eating and making life changes in our daily lives. It's time for us to talk the talk and walk the walk. It's time to stop making these piecemeal investments in our communities without demonstrating commitment that we need to lift our families up from poverty and to provide them with the equality and opportunity they deserve. We know that piecemeal approaches don't work. We need a stronger and more comprehensive commitment on all forms of government, not just one level. It's all levels of government. If we're going to make this a real initiative and a real impact in our community. And that's what exactly our governor, Andrew Cuomo, is doing for Vital Brooklyn. And this is what the Vital Brooklyn Initiative is doing. This initiative represents the largest ever investment in Central Brooklyn community. This have never happened before. So we have to definitely pride ourselves and be very thankful for the investments that is making its way here to Central Brooklyn. Whether it's for affordable housing, whether it's for urban farming, whatever it is, it's happening now in Central Brooklyn. It's now our time. Vital Brooklyn, it recognizes our communities, that it cannot thrive without safe housing, jobs that pay living wage, quality healthcare, green space, and critically access to fresh and healthy food. And before I call up our Lieutenant Governor, I just want to say that as the assembly member for this district, the 5th Ninth Assembly District, I do cover Canarsie, Mill Basin, Georgetown, Marine Park, Mill Basin and Garrison Beach, and Floyd Bennett Field. And I have to say that I am so proud to represent this district because our district is so full of vitality and so much there is to continue learning. Our waterways, the Jamaica water, the governor had pumped in some money as to the Billion Oyster Project that is being planted in the Patagonia Basin after Superstorm Sandy had hit. It was very critical for us to have those planted back there because the oysters, they are used as a filtration for the water system. But even more so to represent 2 developments in my district, Bayview and Glenwood. And I always pride myself about Bayview. I pride myself at Bayview because we work so well with the Tenants Association President, Cheryl Boyce. Her mom is here, Sylvia Whiteside. And one of the things that I pride myself, as I was saying, Bayview has one of the biggest urban farms right here, right behind this building, right? And you don't even think about it, but if you walk back there, you feel as though like you're not even in Brooklyn. You don't even think you're in the housing development because it's such a tranquil type of feeling, and they plant everything, right? And it's teaching our children how to grow vegetables, what is the steps to grow these healthy vegetables, how to eat these healthy vegetables, and how to prepare them. And for some of us today that didn't even think of this word that existed many moons ago, the bartering system, right? How many of us know what is the bartering system? Okay, so the bartering system that they use here at the urban farm, residents from here have to bring in their peelings. Whatever peelings from vegetables and so forth, they bring it in on Fridays or Thursdays. They give in their peelings, and in return, they get the vegetables. That's the bartering system. So it's an equal system. You're giving back, and you're getting fresh vegetables for your kitchen. So that's how important eating fresh and healthy is for our residents, for our families. So without further ado, and I just had to highlight that part, so sorry for taking up more time. So the Vital Brooklyn Initiative is a great investment to this historic commitment that our governor and Lieutenant Kathy Hochul are making right now in Brooklyn. So I would like to welcome our Lieutenant Governor, Kathy Hochul, to the podium.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Assemblymember Williams, you can take all the time you want to brag about your beautiful district, so I understand the incredible pride you have. Just a couple Saturdays ago, the 2 of us were dressed a little more casually as we were on the waterways launching a program that got youth from the community learning how to be members of a crew team. And they were competing and learning incredible skills, the One Row program, so we had a great time out there. So I enjoy coming back to your beautiful district, and your residents are very fortunate to have your strong voice representing them in our state capitol. So thank you for all you do for this great community. Assemblymember. I know we're also going to be joined by Assemblymember Nick Perry. I was texting him, so I know he's coming, but I've also had the opportunity to enjoy the district through his eyes as well. Councilmember Mizell, thank you for your presence here today, and we've dined in your district as well and spent a lot of time out in this area. And also, the governor's dream team is here. And I think you know what I'm talking about. People who are so dedicated and committed to bettering the lives of the people of not just all of New York, but particularly areas that are hard hit like Central Brooklyn. Kareem Kamara, the Executive Director of Faith-Based Community Development Services, you'll be hearing from him shortly. Richard Ball, the rock star of all that is green and good, the Commissioner of Agriculture and Markets. He covers the entire state, but he is so committed to making sure that people put what's good for them in their bodies. And Patrick Hooker is also here too, our Deputy Secretary for agriculture and markets. Thank you. Fran Barrett, who wakes up every day worrying about whether people are hungry or not. So thank you, Fran Barrett, for all you do. And Anna O'Gary, we just spoke about the fact that you've been doing your work for 25 years. And after a quarter of century of commitment, you're finally starting to see a transformation here. So it is great to have your perspective on the incredible changes we're making here in Brooklyn. I am the lieutenant governor of a very agricultural state. When I'm not hanging out in Brooklyn, I might be visiting a farm or a dairy farm and watching the corn grow or the grapes. But it is kind of fascinating to me, as someone from an area that was kind of beaten down for a long time, Buffalo, to come to Brooklyn and talk about farms and gardens here. But this is now the cool place for farming. I've just declared it today. Therefore, Brooklyn is the coolest place in New York for farms. And the farm here at Bayview House is an absolutely remarkable sight. People need to come out and see what creative people can do when they have a problem and they want to solve it together as a community. So the volunteers who are working here, United Community Centers and Grow New York, you are truly making a difference, and I want to thank you on behalf of Governor Cuomo for the work you're doing here. Now, I want to talk about a couple issues here today, and the governor has been many times announcing Vital Brooklyn. He was here at the outset a year ago, then he was here in, I think it was April, he was here just a couple weeks ago, about a month ago, and the different elements of it, whether it's the housing, the gardens, the environment. So today we're going to be talking about a particular, I guess the clues out front, what part we're talking about. We're talking about the food. But I also want to just talk about Central Brooklyn is a great place. But if you look at the numbers, statistics, we can do better. We can definitely do better. And we're looking at 46 square miles. You look at poverty rates, housing, people who are living in conditions that we don't think are acceptable in some of the buildings, educational achievement, unemployment, the number of families receiving SNAP program, physical inactivity, and the murder rate. Whatever should be high is too low, and whatever is low should be higher. So we need to change that dynamic. And that's what Vital Brooklyn is all about. So if you want to make the greatest impact, you go to the place with the greatest need. It's that simple. Now, there's other politicians who don't have the courage to say, we'll take on society's most challenging problems. It's a lot easier to just kind of say, well, it's always been that way, you can't do anything. But we are so fortunate to have a governor that actually runs into the challenges of our day, and he embraces them. And Central Brooklyn is the beneficiary of that philosophy that I share with our governor. We embrace the problem. So yes, give the governor another round of applause. You know, he started his career working in affordable housing here in Brooklyn, and he's very proud of the work he did. Then it took him to become Secretary of HUD. So this is something he knows deeply about. And also, over the years, we talk about kind of slogans. The war on poverty. Anybody hear of the war on poverty? Did you know that Donald Trump declared that we won the war on poverty and everything's okay now? Did you catch that tweet? Yeah, okay. Just saying. We had a few skirmishes in that war, but we did not win the war on poverty, okay? Let's just get that out there right now. We have some work to do. So how do we wrap our arms around this? How do we become a model for the rest of the nation and ignore what Washington says or does? Because I always feel better when I can do that. Vital Brooklyn is a holistic approach that has never been tried in any part of our state and indeed the country. And that's what's so exciting about it, because people are watching our success here to see how creative we can get working together. So it's a coordinated approach to deal with the root of really intractable problems. Healthcare, for example, the governor announced $210 million to have a network of 32 ambulatory healthcare centers because people needed closer access to good quality healthcare. And they're taken care of by incredible individuals when they get there, but it was all about the lack of access. So it's the prenatal, postnatal, pediatric care. So many kinds of services and visits could eradicate a lot of problems before they even get started. It's all about prevention. So we're talking about that. We also talked about the housing part. We're going to add 3,300 new housing units right here. That's a game changer, ladies and gentlemen. That's how we're going to transform people's lives, giving them the dignity of a brand new place to call home. A couple weeks ago, we announced the community gardens, where we not just supply people with the opportunity to be in fresh air and open space, but also when you think about the research that's done, when people are exposed to these gardens, there's a decline in depression and in improvements in mental health. So we're going to continue investing $3.1 million to upgrade 22 community gardens. Okay, talked about some of the things we already announced. But also, this statistic bothers me. 84% of residents of Central Brooklyn go without adequate physical activity. And that's a 30% higher number than the rest of the state, okay? But I think we can solve that, don't you? Don't you think we can figure that one out as well and get people moving and getting more physically active and eating better? That's what we're announcing today. So we're investing $10.6 million to transform 8 schoolyards into dynamic playgrounds, school grounds. As a mom, I've spent a lot of time in playgrounds, so I'm a good judge of playgrounds, and I think it's a great opportunity, not just for the kids to play, but for the whole family to get out there and get some fresh air and connect and bond with each other. So we're going to transform those. And the first will be completed this year, and all 8 by the year 2020. So hopefully the young kids will have a lot of years to enjoy this. We're also investing $1.8 million to enhance 4 recreation centers. And when we're all done, imagine this. No one in Central Brooklyn will have to walk more than 10 blocks without encountering a slice of open space. Doesn't that sound nice? Doesn't that sound nice? We're going to transform the landscape of Central Brooklyn as well. So with the fresh air, the physical activity, walking back and forth, it's all about the food now. Let's get to the food. Physical activity, but what we put in our mouths. You know, in some parts of Central Brooklyn, access to good food has reached epidemic proportions. And what the impact is that the health numbers are rather dire. 15% of residents of Central Brooklyn have diabetes. Now, you can prevent it or you can catch it early, but for many, it goes on and becomes a debilitating illness. In fact, it's what killed my own father-in-law as I saw him decline, and much of it was the lack of good eating in his youth and as an adult. The national average is 10%, okay? We're 15%. We can do better than that. And over 33% of the population is afflicted with obesity. The national average is 28%. So improving diet and physical activity, we can reduce these activities, as well as reducing salt and sugar. And I know it's hard. I'm a chocoholic, okay? So I'll get that right out there. I know it's tough to make these decisions, but let's give people good options. Let's make sure little kids grow up knowing that it's even better to have a carrot as a snack than a bag of chips. These are decisions we can teach kids when they're young. It can have a huge impact on people's lives. So, we're going to do much more. And in fact, the presence of hunger in this country, a land of great riches for most, really needs to be defined as social injustice. Right up there with the lack of education, with the lack of good housing, lack of job opportunity, the lack of good quality access to food, and people going hungry is social injustice. So when you look at it through that lens, that makes it more of a responsibility, a moral responsibility on all of us to solve this, because we don't want to live in an area where anyone has to endure social injustice. But that's what people going hungry is all about in this day and age. So providing healthy, nutritious food is as important as providing decent schools and decent housing. But also there's a class, not just the children, a group of individuals who suffer at statistically higher levels more than you think. Our senior citizens. Our senior citizens, many of them because they have physical limitations, they can't walk the great distance to go to food, and when you look at the fact that people in poverty statistically have to walk or go 3 times further than someone in a wealthy community to even get to a good grocery store, how does a senior citizen even get there if they want to? Well, we have the answer. We're going to make sure that we have mobile markets. Think about that, taking the food on the road to the people. Yes. So we're investing $1 million 2 rounds of funding, $500,000 each, to increase the number of markets to 31. Think about that. That's going to be incredible access for these individuals. And the first of the vehicles will hit the streets in October, so we're excited about that. We're also, yeah, that's good. In addition to the mobile markets, we're going to fund 12 youth-run farmer markets at the community schools across Central Brooklyn, just beginning this fall. And that's in partnership with the United Federation of Teachers and Grow New York. We thank them for their help and their investment. The state's going to put forward $325,000 for those youth-run markets. And think about it. It's not just their exposure, but these young people are going to learn entrepreneurial skills. They're going to learn to be new business people. And I thought about this because not long ago I was in Manhattan, and there's a Girl Scout Troop 6000. Are you familiar with this? These are homeless girls. Hundreds of homeless girls who are part of the Girl Scout troops. And they had a mission to sell as many boxes of cookies as they could. And I bought a lot of Thin Mints. I ate too many Thin Mints. But they sold 60,000 boxes. I had a 7-year-old show me how to do my transaction on that portable thing they bring to your table sometimes. She was telling me about the quality of the food and telling me, she was like a little 7-year-old salesperson, this little homeless girl. And I thought, wow, she now has a skill that nobody else her age has. That's what these farms can be about. We get the young people thinking of themselves as business people, opening their eyes to their own potential. That's what excites me about these. So we're gonna be, yes, give that a round of applause. So taken together, we're going to have 43 new markets spread across Central Brooklyn, so residents will finally have access to fresh, nutritious food. We also, in the long term, want to develop a more robust food distribution center for all of Brooklyn, simplifying the process for bringing produce from farmers and getting in the stores. Lastly, I mentioned our seniors. We are identifying seniors as having a severe food insecurity problem. So we're launching a new food insecurity screening program for senior citizens and allocating $300,000 for this. An additional $100,000 spent for screening for food will make sure that the healthcare institutions will have the money to identify whether or not seniors coming who see them are afflicted with food insecurity, meaning they're not getting enough nutrition to take care of their lives. So, it's all starting here today. We're making some smart decisions, continuation of our $1.4 billion. It's happening here in Central Brooklyn. Governor Cuomo and I want to say, we can do it here, we can do it anywhere. Let's bring it home.
Thank you, thank you. Let's thank our Lieutenant Governor again for her great words. Appreciate that. She mentioned the significance of encouraging our children to have carrots instead of potato chips. And I didn't eat breakfast on the way over here. I was tempted to grab one of those carrots as a snack, but I see people snapping photos and stuff, so I wasn't gonna grab an onion. If I grab an onion, no one's gonna talk to me after the event, right? But we appreciate this, we appreciate all of you. And thank you. And you all look beautiful as an audience. I wish you could see. Could you just turn around for a minute? Look at the person next to you. You all look really beautiful. Give yourselves a round of applause for just looking so great and being here. Yes. We're grateful again to the Lieutenant Governor for her words. We're grateful to our governor, Governor Andrew Cuomo, for his great leadership in this initiative. As a lifelong Brooklynite, it's an honor to be here with you today and to see the great transformation, again, that's taking place under our governor's leadership. And today we're taking another step forward in the transformative Vital Brooklyn Initiative. The governor's Vital Brooklyn Initiative represents the commitment to Central Brooklyn that this community needs and deserves. And today, Governor Cuomo and Lieutenant Governor Hochul are taking the next step in this comprehensive program by investing an additional $1.8 million in the health and well-being of this community. This funding will be dedicated to new mobile markets, 12 youth-run farmers markets, some of which you heard from our Lieutenant Governor, food insecurity screening. This all is worth repeating again. Food insecurity screening for seniors, community gardens and urban farms, and a food distribution hub sitting study. It will ensure that local communities have the ability to purchase fresh local foods and that they have the support they need for healthier lifestyles. And it will give young people in our community the opportunity to connect with the earth and develop their entrepreneurial skills. And I'm gonna take a moment just to detail some of these that we're talking about today and give you some idea about the funding that's committed to it. This will give young people in our community the opportunity to connect with the earth and develop their entrepreneurial skills, as I said. And so the first 5 partner organizations have been awarded $500,000 in funding through the Mobile Market Grant Program. The mobile food access units are an important means for reaching those who are often in need of fresh, healthy food. They're more flexible and less expensive than constructing and operating full-scale grocery stores or new food pantries, and they provide better access to people who have limited mobility. These awards are being provided to City Harvest, Bed-Stuy Campaign Against Hunger, Council on the Environment, United Community Centers, and Food Bank for New York City. Let's hear it for all of those great organizations and the great work that they're doing. These partner organizations will expand or implement a new mobile market program to serve Central Brooklyn neighborhoods. In addition, we are announcing a new approach to our healthcare services, a new partnership between New York State and SUNY Downstate in coordination with One Brooklyn Health that invests $300,000 to implement the food insecurity screening pilot that the Lieutenant Governor talked about, and that's a program for our seniors. That's great that our seniors have such a program. And we have, from One Brooklyn Health, we have validation with that thumbs up. As part of the program, older adults visiting a SUNY Downstate Healthcare Center, we have SUNY Downstate represented, older adults visiting a SUNY Downstate healthcare provider or health fair will participate in a screening that helps determine if they are food insecure. It starts with that screening to find out if this is a challenge that they're dealing with. Those who take part in the program will be provided with senior farmers market nutrition program benefits to use at participating farmers markets and farm stands and other resources to promote healthier eating habits and lifestyle changes. In addition, $100,000 will expand the practice of screening for food insecurity within the healthcare system more broadly across Central Brooklyn. And as you notice, you signify the commitment by appropriating funds for it. You can't just say you care about it, you have to make sure you have the funds that are allocated for these very important programs. And thanks to the governor's leadership and Vital Brooklyn initiative, there are funds allocated for all these significant areas. I'm getting to a close, just these details I want to make sure that we are aware of. Community gardens and urban farmers are critical to our neighborhoods. They are a place to gather. They are a place for education. They help us in the fight against hunger, and they support proper nutrition. To develop and enhance community gardens and urban farms in the vital Brooklyn region, New York State has awarded 2 partner organizations $50,000 for critical improvement and expansion projects. These awards are being provided to the Bed-Stuy Campaign Against Hunger in Kings County and United Community Centers, 2 great organizations that will be helping in this effort. Just a few more details to let you know about. The Vital Brooklyn Initiative also has identified inadequate food supply chain infrastructure as one of the primary challenges residents face in accessing fresh food. To address this need in Central Brooklyn, the state will be working with the Bed-Stuy Restoration Corp to conduct a study on the feasibility of a food hub right here in this neighborhood. This study is important and will include an opportunity for community engagement and looks to things like form, function, and location, and how that best meets the needs in this particular neighborhood. Finally, we're announcing $325,000 to support the launch of 12 youth-run farmers markets. And that's so important. The key words, youth-run. I think that's so important. As we're looking at health, we have to start seeing young people, not just as the leaders of tomorrow, but they're also leaders today and have a very important voice to contribute to the community dynamics. Starting this school year, a dozen community schools in Central Brooklyn, working in partnership with Grow New York and the United Federation of Teachers, will teach young people how to manage and operate farm stands, empowering high school students with entrepreneurship skills and encouraging them to take an active role in their local food system. This here is an extraordinary opportunity to expand horizons for young people in Brooklyn and expose them to the world of farming. Anybody interested in farming? Any Brooklynites? Brooklynites can be farmers too, right? Right? We can ask our agriculture commissioner that, okay? And we'll give them invaluable tools and experience in business, preparing them for whatever future career they pursue. Now, we all know that healthy communities and a vibrant economy, they start with access to nutritious, farm-fresh foods. Eating good food that's good for you, it improves the quality of life for all of us. It also helps children do better in school. There's so many studies that show there's a connection between having breakfast in the morning, having nutrition, and the capacity to learn during the school day. It brings families and communities together as well. It also opens up new markets for New York farmers, introducing them to new customers, providing an economic boost to the agricultural economy, and bridging the gap between knowing where your food comes from and how it's grown. So again, we want to thank the governor, Governor Cuomo, we want to thank the lieutenant governor for their commitment to this vital Brooklyn initiative. These new programs will make a significant direct impact on our families, on our children, and on our farmers. They will help us build a foundation that will allow us to impact other social and economic improvements. So all of this, in short, this is a win-win. Everyone in our community benefits by this very important initiative. It's now my pleasure to introduce you to another great leader who's been doing great work in this regard, and she'll introduce you to other partners in this project. We welcome this morning Anna Aguirre, the Executive Director of the United Community Centers. Let us receive her as she comes forward.
Thank you so much. Thank you to Governor Cuomo, Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul. Thank you for this recognition. We are really excited. I have to say, I have my notes that I received, but I have to say that food really has such a key entry point for so many social inequities, particularly in this part of Brooklyn, particularly in East New York and in our communities, but also have the power to bring people together and do transformation. And that's what is happening in this part of Brooklyn. So I think we all receive a big round of applause for coming together. This is an exciting day for Central Brooklyn. The Vital Brooklyn Initiative is an extraordinary commitment to our community, and today we are taking another critical step to transform this area and make a difference for generations to come. United Community Centers, which I represent, is a social justice-driven, community-based organization in East New York. For over 60 years, we have been working side by side with residents to address community challenges, to celebrate our strength, but also to provide needed services to improve our life. This year is an important year for East New York Farms, one of our key programs, and I want to recognize them. They are in the back, in that tent, and it's a very important year for us because East New York Farms is celebrating a major milestone. We are celebrating 20 years in our community. 20 years is really a milestone, and East New York Farm has been a pioneer in food justice, not only in East New York, I feel that in Brooklyn and in the entire city. East New York Farm is committed to addressing food justice by promoting local sustainable agricultural practices, but making food accessible, but food that is fresh and affordable, and many of that locally grown. And also by working with community and deciding what kind of entrepreneurs they would like to see in East New York. And we are doing this by working with our youth, working with gardeners, working with farmers, and together we are building a more just and sustainable community, not only in East New York, but also here in this farm in Bayview houses. With a new funding for mobile markets through the governor's Vital Brooklyn initiative, we are poised to strengthen and sustain our efforts to provide Brooklyn with healthy food, including at our Wednesday mobile market and farm stand in East New York and Canarsie. And thanks to Vital Brooklyn's support for urban farms, we will be able to provide additional technical assistance to local gardeners to grow our farmers market and improve access to healthy food in an underserved area of Brooklyn. We are extremely grateful for this new funding and what it means for the people of Central Brooklyn. This program and the entire Vital Brooklyn initiative shows that leaders like Governor Cuomo and Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul understand the challenges facing our communities and are willing to step up and take action. So thank you again to Governor Cuomo, the team, and everyone who is helping us turning this vision into a reality. Thank you so much for joining us today.